What's going on Twitch and YouTube? Welcome to episode 21 of the U.S.S. CERRITOS tutorial. I'm Zero Lee and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about a 32-minute video. We're trying to get as much work as we can get done on the upper hull. Still have a ton of work to do on both the outside of the ship and the inside. As I was looking at pictures and my 3D model of the CERRITOS, I noticed that I need to add in another circle in the center. So I've already got this figured out. All you need to do is go on Google and type in pixel circle generator, and you're going to do a 33 by 33. And from your pre-existing opening that you have, or the currently open area that you have here, is where we're going to start our circle on the I should say the fourth block in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I've already put the spacing down. So now on the fourth block, we're going to start our row. You can see I'm just going by this pattern here. And you could either leave this up on your computer or take a screenshot of it or keep it up on your phone. But you really only need, if you cut this into 4 slices, you just need this piece right here. And you'll be able to repeat that 4 times total, going all the way around. But this is going to help us later on when we add in the area for the bridge. After we do this, then we're going to head over and start to pick up where we left off in yesterday's episode, where we were working on the back end of the upper hull. Pretty happy with the progress I'm making so far. I actually reached out to a couple of different people on YouTube regarding the issue that I was having on the interior on where to put my warp drive. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get an answer tomorrow. And put it this way, the day this video drops, so that'll be tomorrow on YouTube, I'm going to make a decision one way or another. And I'm pretty much certain at this point, unless something changes, that I'm going to be building the warp core in the saucer section underneath the bridge. And when we do the interior, I'll show you the blueprints on why I came up with that decision, unless a couple of the channels that I reached out to that do reviews on ships and interiors answers my question and has some different information. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think I have a feeling that I'm right. I hope that I am, because I think that could be a very interesting build. Having the engineering in the saucer section would be very different from other Federation ships. But you definitely want to keep an eye on my Twitch channel, because I'm going to be getting on Minecraft a lot in the next coming days and weeks to finish up the CERRITOS, and also to get those videos up on YouTube as well. And then we're done with this, we're going to hop over to the Enterprise D, which would be a lot of fun to do. But we've still got a ton of stuff to do on this build today, and in future episodes before we get there. So now, since we finished our circle, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add another row going all the way around. So we're going to make this circle 2 high instead of just 1. I wasn't actually intending to add this extra circle, because one of my things is I'm not a huge fan of using the pixel circles. I like the free build, and it's just one of those things where if you want to have an accurate Federation ship, you're more than likely going to need it. So I always try to get all that done in the very beginning and out of the way, but I just came to the decision that I needed it. And when we fill it all in, it'll look really nice. Some of this may not make that much sense, but it will when we get it done. So on the left side of the ship, this upper V, we're bringing it all the way in until we get along the cut line of our inner ring. Um, I'm getting ready to do the same thing on the right side, but I have a sneaking suspicion that this line right here is off center from the other side. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the placement on the same block on the opposite side and just start building back. You can see, yep, I was off literally by one. So now I'm going to get rid of those and fix my pattern. See how I did that? That is an easy way to correct an error if you made one. You go by the rule, if I do one thing on one side, do it on the other, so you can compare one side to the other to check your work. So that's how I was able to catch that minor error and fix it pretty easily. And just doing that, I mean, you'll be surprised how often stuff like that can happen. Because, I mean, I pay pretty good attention when I'm building my ships on here, and even I still make mistakes from time to time, as you just saw. But by going back and double checking your work will definitely help in making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right, I'm trying to figure out what the next move is going to be, but I think we're going to start filling in some more of this hull. I'm going to make a slight adjustment on the wireframe of the upper section here. This is still kind of floating, but I'm hoping by the end of today's episode we'll be able to have a lot of this filled in, because there's still a lot of work to do. We won't have, excuse me, we won't have all of the saucer filled in by the end of today's episode. Because that is definitely one of the things I've been talking about when we got to this portion of the ship was going to be the most challenging part of it, and doesn't necessarily seem like it. And I feel like if I went back and built the CERRITOS again, I might not have that hard of a time at doing it. But this was the first attempt, and when you do a ship like this, they can be tricky from time to time. But we'll get there. Best thing to do right now is just take my time, make sure what I'm doing is um, what I want, and it's matching up to the source material. And so far, I think we're pretty good shape. And that line that I showed you yesterday's episode that sits on top of the saucer that goes in an angle like to the left and to the right, like on the back end of the saucer. That's kind of like where we're at right now, and it just is going to be a little bit tricky to get that just right, but we will. Because originally, as you can see right here, I was going to make it shorter, which this is what the wireframe part is to the right, um, but it that just doesn't match the picture. So ultimately, what I'm going to have to end up doing is making it a little bit longer. But for right now, we're going to go in and add an additional row underneath our wireframe V that sits on top of the saucer. So we're on the right side, and once we go all the way down, then we're going to go over to the left side. We're actually done with our pixel circle generator. Let's get it out of here. I don't want to look at it anymore. And we can do everything else pretty much free building at this point. All right, looking pretty good. So I brought that all the way to the new inner circle. And now to make it the same height, I'm going to make our circle just one higher. So that's going to bring it to a total of 3 blocks high now. It may not stay that. We might trim that down a little bit, but for right now, that's kind of what we're working with. right now we're on the left side, so I'm going to do the same thing on the floating part, the wireframe of the V. I'm going to add another row underneath it. Let's move that out of the way to go back to full screen. Then you can actually notice from yesterday's video that I was not in full screen, so I apologize for that. If I can help it, I'll keep the stream in full screen unless I'm pulling up a picture or something that we're looking at that I feel that's relevant to the build that we need for a reference. But that was done on mistake, so I do apologize for that. But not perfect, as I've been only doing videos consistently on YouTube now for like the past 6 months. I mean, I've had the channel for um, about 4 or 5 years now, but it's only really in the last 6 months that I've been doing videos consistently. But I've enjoyed it to a point where I'm gonna keep doing them, and I've been getting a ton of positive feedback, you know. And if there's ships that you want to see me build on Minecraft, definitely let me know in the comment section. Would definitely love to hear from you. If I get enough people asking me for it, you never know, I might just build it. Right now, I'm working within the next generation era ships, so keep your requests right now to next generation. You can ask me to do other stuff from different ships and different eras from Star Trek, but bear in mind I may not do something like that until later, or if I get enough people asking for it. Um, but there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming on the channel in the future. You know, of course, like I said earlier today, we've got the Enterprise D coming up after this build, which is going to be a lot of fun. And after that, I don't know. I have to see where I feel at the start of the Enterprise D and also the comment section off of what everyone wants to see. But right now, we still have the Cerritos to build. And I'm getting to a point where, and maybe by the end of this week, we might have this outside finished. Now, I do want to briefly get back in what we got going on here a little bit. You can see along the line right here, which is going right along our first inner ring that has the half slabs. If you go one back from that block right here, we're just filling all that in. So this way you can get your placement. That's why I wanted to stop that right there so nobody gets lost. But some of this stuff here, I don't need to call out everything, and I think that's been working out pretty well so far. I haven't really been having that many people ask questions lately regarding the build. I feel like it's I'm getting to a point where it's pretty self-explanatory. But for whatever reason, if you do get stuck, don't be shy. Drop a comment below. I'll try to see what I can do to help you out. I'm usually pretty responsive in the comment section. But we are rocking and rolling here, getting this thing filled in. We've already gone through the first 11 minutes, still have about 20 minutes left in today's episode. And it feels like we have 1,000,001 things left to do. I'm actually hoping that if I get anybody to respond back to me that asks questions about this ship, that they do tell me that the warp core is in the saucer section, because the more I've been thinking about it, actually, I think that the build will just turn out a lot better that way. Because I've already been kind of envisioning on some of the things that I want to do um, with the interior based off of that design. So this way, when I hop on tomorrow night, after either before or after I do tomorrow's episode, I'll be on Minecraft getting the interior done. We're starting it anyway. I won't be getting it done tomorrow night because I'll probably be working on it for maybe like a week or two. But it won't take too long to do it because these ships, I mean, they take a little bit of time, but if you get on every day for like a couple of hours, you can do it in a few weeks. It's just taking it a little bit longer on the tutorials series because I'm only able to release out so much a day because I don't want to put out 2-hour videos every single day. For one, I don't want to burn you guys out with the length of the video, and then maybe you skip over some really important information. Not only that, then I'm putting, in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, hundreds of hours for like a few videos. Now, I don't want it to go nearly as far as like the Discovery Enterprise. That kind of inflated beyond my control at one point because I was getting to a point where I felt like we were getting a lot done, but as we were getting closer to the interior, the episodes starting really inflating. Um, a little of that had to do with the fact that there were some cases where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And a clear example was the sick bay on the Discovery Enterprise. There was a few episodes there where we had to backtrack, and there are a few other cases like different parts of the ship. But I'm trying to avoid that with the Cerritos. I don't think we're doing too bad right now. We're on episode 21. We've gotten a lot of the ship done. So I mean, even if we went like um, I don't know what the remainder of the episodes that I have already pre-recorded for the outside of the ship, um, not counting the stuff that we also have to do outside of that. That it could end up being like maybe 10 episodes, and this is just guessing at a max. Well, no, I take that back. I think maybe like 5 episodes for the outside. This is based off of what we probably have left to do right now, and then some other stuff I have to do, and then maybe like 10 episodes or something like that for the interior. Don't quote me on that, but we'll have to play it by ear. But this ship, believe it or not, it's not, even though in some cases it's kind of bigger than the Discovery Enterprise, but it's really not. Especially on the inside, I'm going to have a lot of less space to work with. Um, Especially in the lower hull. Like the primary interior of this thing is going to be the saucer. There's really not that much room to work with on the lower hull. It's pretty much going to be dedicated to the deflector dish, and yeah, that's not looking too bad though. You can start to envision it more. I think she looks really clean, all things considered. Never done a large scale next generation era ship. I don't think it's bad at all for a first attempt. Could always be better. And I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, I've been building ships on Minecraft for like 10 years, and I always learn, something new as I've been going through building these ships. Um, I feel like even like when I first started, like when I did the 2009 Enterprise, after that I did the Vengeance, I felt like I learned so much from doing just those ships. And as you go through yourself and start building, these ships on a large scale, you'll start to realize that yourself. You'll learn different tricks. You'll catch mistakes that you've made, and figure out a way to get around it. I've really tried to talk about what I've done to do that. So I'm hoping, if you stuck with me through this tutorial series, that you learn a thing or two on the shipbuilding, because I think it's a lot of fun. It takes your mind off things. Um, I mean, just even playing Minecraft in general will help take your mind off stuff. Because I mean, that's probably the one game where like I can hop on here and like I'll play it, and like I think like 2 3 hours have gone by, and it's been like 6 hours. I'm like, man, where'd the day go? What happened? You can see that we've gone up a row, that we're filling in within this next step right here, just within this piece right here. Let's see what this looks like. Kind of smoothing out the lip here with a cut. You see what I mean? I really do feel like using those half slabs there. It looks so much better where if we would have just left it alone. I think it looks way too pixelated without it. But see, with that half slab, I mean, it tones down the cut line, you know. I really wish that Mojang would add colored half slabs. Maybe one day. See, that looks pretty good. I don't know about in right there, but like this whole piece right here is gonna take a little bit of work to get it done, but we're getting there. And let's see where we still have about 13 minutes left. And continue filling in along the sides here, continuing on the same height. And we're on the left side of the saucer. This was really the easiest way to build this ship up, and hopefully you understand a little bit more, by building layers. And that's really how we've done this, is that we started from the base level of the saucer and we're working our way up layer by layer. So when I'm looking at the Cerritos, like you can look at the top of the ship or look at it from the side, is a great example. Try to figure out how many layers it's going to be and like the angles that you have it at. So that was a lot of where the first couple of episodes were, where we had all those wireframes down that maybe didn't make a lot of sense at the time, but excuse me, now they do, because we're filling in all this stuff, and you can see a lot more of the layering that I was trying to envision beforehand. It's not so easy to do it all the time, which is, I mean, as you can see in the beginning of the episode, we had to add another ring. You're not always going to foresee everything, but I mean, it's definitely very helpful, and it's going to save you from making just a ton of errors. Trust me on this. I've done enough ships on here where I've tried to talk about the mistakes that I've made. One day I'm going to show pictures of the very first Enterprise that I ever did. That never made it to YouTube, actually. It was before the 2009 one, which they were actually technically the same ship. I just refitted it kind of like in the same way that I refitted the um, 2009 Enterprise into the Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A. Basically did the same thing, just redid sections of it to make it look better. But you will get better at this as you do it, that's for sure. But if you're not sure that you can build a ship this scale, like if you're just coming across this on for the first time on Twitch or YouTube, don't get discouraged. Go over to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/zero elite and check out my mock tutorials. I've got smaller ships that I've done. I've only done a couple of them because I do them when I feel like it might be a somewhat complicated build. I'll do a mock of it so that people have a reference to go by, or if they want to try it out on a smaller scale before they attempt a larger one. But a mock, nonetheless, is a great thing to do for when you're just starting out building your ships for the first time. So definitely check out my mock tutorial that I did for the Enterprise A from Star Trek Beyond. And then I also have a mock-up for the Enterprise D. And they give you a lot of really helpful information and show you some beginner tips on building your ships. And once you've done those, then you can start, maybe building some of your own smaller ships. Then you can try some of the larger scale ones that I've done. But yeah, I definitely, I think those will be helpful to you. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff going on here. We're just filling in the rest of the sides here as I'm just kind of rambling on about different stuff that you can do and watch for my channel. But still have a couple of areas that we're going to be filling in today's episode. Usually we don't spend, haven't spent a lot of time on me just filling in hull areas. I've tried to avoid it in this particular tutorial, but there's going to be sections of the ship that I'm going to have to fill in live, just to keep everybody um, on the same page that does want to do this build with me. And I'm really trying to do this in a way that you can keep up. But again, for the reason, if you get stuck, let me know in the comments section. Um, but we're looking pretty good. We're on the last step right now. We're adding in our half slabs right behind it. So far, so good. You see him just going with the cut. and keeping with the pattern, that looks pretty good. Except for right here in this area, I don't like that. But we're going to be spending some time, a lot of time here in this area to get that right. And even what I end up with ultimately, I got to be honest, I'm not even fully happy with, but I'm happy with it enough that I can walk away from it. And I mean, that'll happen to you too, probably. At some point, you're going to build something and it's just not going to come out the way that you want it. And you'll redo it and it still won't come out the way that you want it. And then you might even redo it a third time. And then you're just like, you know what? It's not great, but it's good enough. And that's just kind of where I'm at on it. It doesn't look bad. I think I'm like my own worst critic. I'm very critical of my own work that I do on here. So I'm probably just giving myself a hard time because, you know, again, and I've said this, I haven't had anybody say anything negative about this build, which is kind of surprising because um, usually, regardless, there's always a couple of people here and there, you know, because everybody has their own opinions, which is fine and welcomed, as far as I'm concerned. But there's usually only a couple of people here and there that you know end up not liking sections of the ship or don't like it in general. But what I've done so far in the Cerritos, not one negative comment. So I definitely appreciate that and all the positive feedback on this ship. And I kind of have to agree. All in all, this ship actually came out really good. If I can get this pattern down for the hull that I want to do for the saucer, I think it could look fantastic and really help this ship take it to the next level. Um, and I'm going to spend some time doing that, which is one of the reasons why I said that we're not done with the exterior yet. Even though once we fill in um, some of the section that's left open on the saucer, almost looks like we're almost done, but we still have some things to do, detailing and things like that, that maybe eagle eye people may not notice. But of course, you know, I will show you um, what you need. So we're going on to our last floating partial circle, I guess you can call this thing. And instead of just building up layer to layer, I went up several blocks to make sure that same height as this row right here, and I'm just hovering over it, and I'm just looking down to see how many blocks I have to go out before I cut in again. Simple as that. If you really wanted to and you just want to go layer by layer, you can. But I can tell you, and this is going to be something I'm going to have to do also once we close this in, we're going to have to go in and get rid of some of the access that's left over here so we can build our interior. So definitely keep that in mind, you know, not having too much extra work that you make for yourself while you're doing this. Or you can see looking down, I had, uh, I was back by one and we fixed that. Now we're in good shape. Just want to make sure and double check that you're aligned with your cut and you should be good. Ironically enough, you know, it's funny. I was actually the night before last. I was on Google and I was doing research to see if I can find any other interior shots on the Cerritos. And I found one, and I'll probably end up showing it when we do the bridge. But I found a comparison picture of the bridge of the Cerritos and the Enterprise D. And I was actually kind of surprised because when I watched Lower Decks, you know, I mean, they show the bridge like a lot on the show, and I never really like put two and two together and like really noticed how similar they look. I think the few changes that they made to the bridge on the Cerritos, it was enough to make it different to a point that I just didn't question it. And I think like the biggest change is that on the bridge of the Cerritos is that the floor is completely level. It's completely flat. Other than that, though, you would be shocked about how close they actually are. And I think that's going to be cool because that will more or less be a training exercise for me um, in building out the bridge for the Enterprise D. Um, but we will get into that once we get to that point in the interior. But first, we have to finish our outside. But definitely keep an eye out, or you know, uh, think about that anyways. What I meant to say, because if there's stuff that you all want to see me build on the interior, now's the time to ask me. Because I had a couple of people that were asking me on stuff on the Discovery, and I even had somebody the other day ask me if I can add an area in Discovery, and I hated to tell them. It was like, I'm not working on the ship anymore. I've completed that ship uh, in 2020, actually, for December, I think, or wherever it was that I started working on the Cerritos. So I definitely love taking suggestions. If I can add it and incorporate it into my build and make it look better, and people want it, I'll definitely do it. But definitely be sure to drop those comments. And now, while I'm still working on the ship, and before I get too much into the interior, that I end up not having any room left too, because that's going to be the other thing. We don't have a ton of room to work with on this ship. We're very limited on the space that we have because we only have the saucer to work with. So all the stuff that ends up having to go in both the saucer and the lower hull is pretty much going to be going in the saucer now. And that's why we're not going to be having a lot of room to deal with. Even though the size of the saucer is about the same size or just a little bit bigger than the Discovery. I'd have to go back to the episode 1 on the measurements of the saucer, but I know that they're at least the same size because when I have a scale comparison, that a chart, and I more or less worked it down to that the Cerritos might be about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger than a Constitution class. That could be being gracious. I'm not certain, but I think it's a close enough anyway, to the point where I felt confident enough to build the ship out. I mean, that's going to be the other thing too. You're not going to have to worry about building something exact, because even my ships are not exact down to the T. Because at the end of the day, they're fictional ships, and on top of that, there's no complete blueprints. So you you can take a lot of liberties. And the one thing that I do to help myself out is I make my ships a little bit smaller than what they actually are, and I do this to save on room because if any of you play on Minecraft on PC, just go and download any enterprise that you can find. I'm serious. Like, see which ones that you can find that are full scale enterprises. Doesn't matter which one it is. It could be the Enterprise A through the Enterprise J, but they'll all have the same thing in common. They'll have decks upon decks and rooms upon rooms that are completely empty and haven't been filled in. And that's something I pride myself in, because even like on the Discovery Enterprise, there's only like maybe 3 or 4 rooms that are empty, and that's just because I ran out of stuff to build. You know, I didn't really have anything else to go off of, but still, I was able to take up enough in that room to where I really took advantage of the space that I had, and it just kind of worked out. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up right here. We've gotten pretty far. We're just made our cut right here, which is one of the last details that we were able to get in today. But I'm pretty happy with what we did. Doesn't seem like we got a lot done, but we actually did. We formed out this whole back piece right here, which was no easy task to prep out and build. So if you just built this with me, you should be very proud of yourself. It was not an easy thing to do. But as you can see, we still have some work to do. And we'll get that done throughout this week and then also next week, whatever else we have left. But if there's any questions or comments regarding this episode, if you get stuck, drop a comment below. I'll try to help you out in the comments section. Any ships that you want to see me build, be sure to drop a comment below. Also, don't forget, if you're on Twitch, to follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ZeroElite. You can always catch my new Twitch stream Sundays through Thursdays, typically dropping between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. Even though tonight's episode is dropping a little bit late, I apologize for that. But typically between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern, Sundays through Thursdays. And also, don't forget, if you're on YouTube, be sure to follow me on youtube.com/C/0elite. You can catch my new Starship Evo builds dropping on Mondays, and my Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Fridays. Those videos drop at 10 a.m. Eastern. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody again for dropping in for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's content. I hope everyone has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.